Right, okay guys, here we go, session 6. If you're at a manual school following this, great news, we finished chapter 1. We're back at school now, and we're going to do session 6 onwards. So we're starting chapter 2 from the book. Just a bit of information, so we're going to try and do chapter 2, 3 and maybe most of 4 before half term. There'll be one session to do a week and maybe 1 or 2 to do over half term. And then there'll be a test after October half term, okay, to test you on those chapters. Okay, right, so we're going to go straight in with session 6, and here we go. So, like I say, this is chapter 2 from the AQA book, and it's Advanced Algebra. Advanced Algebra Part 2. Okay, now it starts with a bit of factorising. So a lot of this chapter is going to be recap work from what you've done already. I'm just going to go through a few different types of factorising, and I would make notes of these as examples in your book. So type 1 might be asking, all of these we're going to ask you to factorise the following. So XA. All of these examples are from the textbook, so do look at the notes there if these are a little bit unclear, and obviously you can pause the video at any time just to sort of take a breather as well. So this one here, we're asked to factorise it. The first thing I would look for in factorising is there a common term in every single term? So X is in the first two, but it's not in the second two. A is in, there isn't a common term in all 4. So what I have to do here is I'm going to look for, okay, well I've got a common term in the first 2, so I'm going to factorise an X out there, and then I've got a common term of a Y in the second 2 terms, so I'm going to factor out the Y. Now what's clever here is I've got a common term in both terms. I've got an A plus B and an A plus B there, so that means I can factorise that out as a common term, and then A plus B times X in the first term, and then in the second term it must be plus Y. Okay, so quite clever there. That would be my answer for the first one, and I can check it by multiplying it out, and if I was to multiply out that, I would get the I'd get back to the original. Okay, type 2. Now these ones you definitely would have seen before. This is a single x squared. 3 different terms. Again, we check, is there something common in every term I can take out? Well, the answer is no. So this is a double bracket case where the number needs to times to minus 18, apologies, times to minus 18 and add to minus 7. So in this case, I think it's going to be minus 9 and plus 2. Minus 9 times 2 is minus 18. And if you add them, you get minus 7. So that would be our answer for question number 2. Type 3, slightly harder type, when you've got a more than 1x squared. Okay, and I'm just going to do, a tip for this one. So it's a 2x squared, so you start by putting 2x all over 2. That cancels out one of the 2x's, and this time the numbers need to multiply to 2 times 15, so they need to multiply to 30, and they need to add to the middle term there, which is minus 11. So 2 numbers that times to positive 30, add to minus 11. We've got 10 and 3, that's not going to work. 6 and 5 is going to work here. Minus 6, minus 5, it doesn't matter on the order. Then I can divide the second part, I can divide the 2x minus 6 by 2, so I get 2x minus 5 and x minus 3. Okay, so those are those sort of types. Similar to the first type, you have to do a bit of simplifying at the end. Now you would have seen all those types before, but example 4 is a slightly harder example, similar to the previous one though, all in algebra. So we're asked to factorise this. It looks a bit harder because we've got x's and y's. Okay, again, there's nothing common in all 3. There's no x in all 3 terms. There's no y in all 3 terms. And it's a quadratic, so it's going to be a double bracket case. Also, it's 3x squared. So I'm going to start by putting 3x 3x all over 3. Okay, same as I did on the last one. Now the two numbers must multiply 3 times the whole of that constant. So 3 times 8y squared minus 8y squared is minus 24y squared. And they must add to the middle term. Now the middle term's not just minus 10. Don't fall into that trap. It's whatever's in front of the x. So the y could have been written in front of the x as well. So it's actually minus 10y. So what two things multiply to minus 24y squared and add to negative 10y? So you've got to think, okay, it adds to minus 10. It's going to be, it's 8 and 3 doesn't work here. 12 and 2 looks like it works. So minus 12y add 2y. So just take your time just to take that in. Minus 12y times 2y will give that, and then if you add them two together, it will give minus 10y. Okay, exactly the same here. I can divide the first term by 3, so I get x minus 4y, and the second term stays the same, and we only divide one of those terms by the bottom, and that would be my answer. Quite slick. Again, if I multiply out the brackets, I will end up as a good check. I'll get back to where I was at the start. Right, the final type of factorising is a difference of two squares. You will have seen this before, but this is again a slightly harder advancement of that. Now, just as a recap of difference of two squares over here, if you've got x squared minus y squared, that will factorise to x plus y, x minus y over here, okay? Just as a review. So we're going to take that principle over here. Now, it won't tell you in the question which sort of factorising it is. So that's why you need to do a lot of practice in a minute, just familiarising yourself with what sort is what. We've got a squared and we've got a minus another square number there. So the first term is going to be x plus 3, and then the sort of the square root of the second term there, plus, and that's going to be 2y, because the square root of 4y squared is 2y. Second term on the right-hand side here, we keep the first bit as x plus 3, whatever in that bracket there was, and this time it's going to be minus 2y. And in fact, I can't simplify that any further. That would be that one factorised there. Okay. So 5 different examples. Just take your time. I want you to do a few questions on this now. It's on page 32, exercise 2a. I want you to do questions 1 to 8, and I want you to do the last 2 parts, okay, of each question. So they start off a bit easier and they get a bit harder. Last 2 parts of each question. So question 1, you would do the last 2 parts and so on. So there's 16 questions in total there. Okay, pause the video at this point and I want you to have a go at those questions now. But we are going to do 2 more activities in this video, so it's not over just yet. So once you've done those questions, remember the answers in the back, come back to the video, and we're going to start on the next little section, which again you would have covered most of this before. Okay, so rearranging formula. Just going to do one example here. Make x the subject, okay, and y equals. Right, so making x the subject of this equation. First of all, you need to get all the x's on the same side. So multiply by 1 plus 3x on both sides. So I get y. Okay, I'm now going to multiply the brackets. Y plus 3xy, x plus 2. I'm going to bring all the x's over to the left side, and I'm going to bring everything else over to the right side. So and if I do that, I get 3xy. I need to minus that x from the right side, and then if I on the right hand side, I just need to minus that y. So I can do that in one go. Okay. Now the clever step here is you think, oh, I don't quite know how to get x on its own. It is factorising again. So this whole video is going to include a lot of factorising. That's why it's all grouped together. So I can factorise out the x on this left-hand side. So the x is the same in both terms. X, 3y minus 1 plus 2 minus y. And then my final step, I can divide both sides by 3y minus 1. So I get 3y minus 1, And there is my answer. What a beautiful question that is. Okay, same procedure here. I'd like you to stop the video after you've digested that example and go to page 35, exercise 2C this time, and I just want you to do questions 5 to 8. So just 4 questions there, all similar to the example above. Okay, we've got one more session, one more little exercise to do in today's session. Take your time. It's the third part, final part of this video, and it's simplifying algebraic fractions. Okay, now the top tip here, make sure you write this down, is factorize everything first. Okay, so factorize everything you see before you even start. And we're going to do 3 examples on this one. So part 1, simplify a squared minus a minus 6 all over a squared minus 8. So a lot of people here will just cancel out the a squareds, and that is an absolute disaster. We must follow our top tip, factorize everything before we start. So I can factorize the top. We should be very good at factorizing now. That's going to be minus 3 and plus 2. And on the bottom I need to factorize again. It's going to be, this time it's going to be a, I think, what's this one going to be? That should be a plus 15, apologies. Plus 15, it's going to be minus 5 and a minus 3. Okay, now I've factorized it, I am allowed to eliminate terms because I'm multiplying on top and bottom, and I can eliminate those 2 terms. So my final answer is a plus 2 over a minus 5. Okay. Right, part 2. So one that looks slightly harder. 4n squared minus 9 over n plus 1 divided by 2n plus 3 over n squared minus 1. Okay, top tip again, remember, factorize everything before you start. So let's see the top term. You should be able to spot that that is a difference of 2 squares. Again, you might want to pause and have a go at this before I sort of reveal the answer. The bottom one can't be factorized. Divided by that can't be factorized either, but you will notice that the bottom one there is also the difference of 2 squares. Okay, that makes it so much easier for me. Because now, remember, dividing fractions, you can flip the second one and it becomes multiply. Okay. Okay, now you've got it in a stage where you're multiplying. Because you're multiplying across and multiplying a bottom, before you start, you can do things, you can cross cancel or cancel up and down. Anything on the top can be cancelled with anything on the bottom of either fraction. So I've got a 2n plus 3 there, can cancel with that 2n plus 3 quite nicely. And I've got an n plus 1, can cancel nicely with that n plus 1. And the bottom effectively becomes just 1, and the top, we just multiply them together. 2n minus 3. Brackets n minus 1, and that is fine. That's simple, it's factorized, but so much nicer than that first expression there at the top. Okay, final sort for today's video, and then you can do a bit more questions. a minus 1 minus 2 a plus 1. Okay, so that one was division or multiplication. It acts in the same way. Subtracting or plussing or adding works slightly differently, but we follow the same rule. So I'm going to factorize anything I can, and you might be able to spot now that that bottom fraction there is a difference of 2 squares again. Quite often they are. Now with subtracting or adding fractions, I need to make sure I have a common denominator. So to make it a common denominator, I don't need to change the first fraction at all. But I do need to multiply the second fraction by a minus 1. If I multiply the second fraction by a minus 1 on the top and the bottom, I now have a common denominator. And now I can just go ahead and write the bottom like this. The top is going to be a minus 1. Okay, I'll be very careful when I'm expanding the brackets on the top. A minus a squared plus 1. A plus 1. A minus 1. Now, it might be a stage where I might be able to leave it like that. Or can I factorise the top? Now, I'm just going to put the a squareds first. Okay. Now, a little bit awkward because it's a negative a squared. But what I can do is I can make that, bring a minus out and change all the signs. Okay, that's fine. I've just factorised out a minus 1 there. Okay, now can I multiply something that, I think I can't go any further than that anyway because I don't think that factorises. So that actually would have been fine for my final answer at that stage. But it's good I went one stage further just to check if I could factorise the top or not. Right, okay, some questions for this session. Page 37, I want you to do exercise 2D now. Questions 1 to 8, and I just want you to do the first and last part for each question. Okay, so quite a few questions today. It's just to get you right back in the zone of being able to be really fluent with your algebra. This is really going to help with the later modules coming up, and certainly with the GCSE as well. Okay, remember, come and see me if you've got any help, and I will see you for session 7 next week. Thank you very much.